Power when you can own your power and, you know, help out the environment and yourself long-term planning retirement.
How many charges?
It all depends on the battery. It really all depends on how much maintenance you do. If you're going to look after it every month, you're going to be down there checking your levels, your acid levels, you're bulking it properly every month. You can cycle them anywhere from 500 to 1,000 times, even 5,000. You get into the lithium ion, like in the electric vehicles. Endless. So basically, the electric car, like the Tesla I have outside here, has an 85 kilowatt battery bank, which a lot of houses, that'll do them for 3 days of autonomy, where they can go without sunlight for that many days. When those deplete, they're now being put into the Powerwall unit that everybody's seen or heard of that Tesla's brought out. And then from there, once they deplete down to their 50%, then they're rebuilt and put back into the cycle again. So really, it just depends on the battery you are getting, and if you're going to spend a little bit extra to get the proper ones, right? And have them installed properly and use them properly. Because with lead acid, it is a big job. It's checking your acid levels, making sure you got enough water, you're not overboiling them, there's a lot behind it. Where a lithium ion, you spend the extra, even a gel or a glass mat, you're spending a little bit extra, but you're taking out all that extra time of actually working on them and checking all that out, which is dangerous, ventilation, just a lot can go wrong. You want to know a little more about it?
Yeah.
So basically you have a meter on your house that reads both directions, like a bank account. So during the day, you're banking for your evenings and your winter months. So basically that meter is like your bank account of power. So all summer you're putting in extra. And then at night you're drawing from it, and in the winter you draw until you hit your zero or your credit limit, and then from there you're billed from SaskPower. So they take the two readings, average it out, and either you got a bill or you don't. So it just depends on the size of your system.
So if you were to produce more than you use, would they pay you for
No.
it?
No, they say thank you very much, and they keep it. They also keep all of our carbon credits, which is another issue because, like John will be talking Bitcoins, there's what's called as a solar coin. So basically, for every megawatt I produce, I can be paid on the market a certain amount. And actually, so you know, it's kind of hard for people to overproduce when really they're not getting anything for it. And if you do go under the small power producer, all they're going to pay you is 10 cents a kilowatt hour at 2% increments per year for 20 years. I guarantee you power is going to go up more than 2% every year. So what I always recommend is let's get as close to net zero by bringing down your consumption. Then we look at building your solar array around that. And then, hey, if they come out with a feed-in tariff in a few years, then you can now take that out of your net metering contract, go into a small power and net metering, and who knows, that house could make double. If they pay double what we're paying in power, like Ontario used to pay 80 cents. That was 6 times the rate of power.
And I just want to step in here. We actually, most residential systems, you're not even going to have enough roof space to overgenerate. I don't think that we have one client who's in a position where they're not using every drop of energy. So, I mean, we're just ultimately in a society where we're over-consumers. And so, literally, I bet you I can even make a phone call to SaskPower, and I bet they have not. There's nobody on net metering program who has overproduced.
So the feed-in tariff is where they pay you, and that does exist in some places.
It does. It exists in Ontario right now. Alberta is looking at a form of it, and so is BC. Saskatchewan doesn't get anything. Like, there's a small power producer, but it's only 10 cents.
And I mean, you know, SaskPower does have programs. I mean, they do recognize the value of solar. There's just way cheaper forms of energy producing options in the province. That's essentially, you know, why we don't see a heavy solar deployment. But yeah, I mean.
Well, they're cheaper in the sense that they don't count all the costs.
Right now, yeah, exactly.
And on the issue of subsidies, like they subsidize oil and gas in trillions of dollars. And so I'm not opposed
overlooked, just just purely based on the resource that we have available. It's just incredible. And essentially, when I found out that I could actually produce my power on my roof, I did ask, why is nobody else doing that? And that's essentially how we got here. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I can produce my own power, and not everybody is doing this? Like, why? Why is nobody doing this? And so we just stopped asking why and had to do something. So
When you look at the big power consumers, any large building, once they've used so many kilowatt hours, their rates actually get cheaper. Which is wrong. Everywhere else, it's the opposite way. So you go into a big place that's like, hey, I want to do something to lower our emissions. We want to do this. It's actually cost prohibitive because once they put it on, now they're paying more for their power because they've offset that cheaper portion. But if we looked at it as if they were to get more of an incentive and flip that around, if we got all those large loads, even cut down in half, we wouldn't have to upgrade our grid. It drops down more than half. So what's the advantage to them? There isn't one. But if we'd flip it like everybody else and do peak demands during the day when most of the power is being used, if we doubled our rate, you'd see a lot of people really caring about what lights were in here. Do we put solar on our roofs? Do we, so that's enough for me.
way over time.
Yes.
Our coal industry here in Saskatchewan, before Ontario shut down all its coal generation, our two or three places where coal created 80% of Canada's pollution. Now, since then, Ontario shut down all of it. And Saskatchewan, they don't pay public people. But it must be that coal is just so cheap.
They've been doing this for how many years? This is not just a new thing for them. This is
lignite coal.
right.
See, but they got lots of subsidies too, just like the carbon capture. Per kilowatt hour, it actually costs just about $1 per kilowatt to produce that, but they're being subsidized where it's down to that 10 cents. But yeah, coal is a cheap form of power production. It is one of the cheapest forms of power, but what's our health worth? If we could eliminate all the poisons we're breathing, drinking, and eating, we wouldn't have the problems that we are having with generations moving forward. So if we could lower that and get rid of some of our health care, that's a big savings, right?
Well, it's north, but it's actually north of
Yeah. Even the electric car. You look at what we do in the city to get rid of, noise. So we build all these barriers around our city. Take that, because I'm an iron worker by the infrastructure for electric vehicles. Now that also brings down noise pollution. That brings down what we're breathing for pollutions in the major cities where it's actually more congested. Then we look at bikes. We look at, how do we design our cities differently? And that's where it is. We have to do a total culture shift.
And quickly. Obviously climate change is happening. And geographically, we don't see it here. We don't get to see a lot of what's happening out there in terms of climate change, but it's, it's harsh. It's harsh. We're talking to students and trying to get youth we're in the high schools and I'm doing presentations on climate change and they just don't understand, have no idea of what's going on out here and the opportunities and the problems and the solutions. They just have no clue about what's going to happen in the next 10 years and how climate change is going to affect their lives.